She said, "It's a work trip." And I wanted to believe her. I wanted to believe her so badly that I forced myself to swallow every doubt that had been simmering beneath the surface for months. You know that moment when someone you love looks you in the eye, offers you a neat explanation, and you feel your gut twist but you silence it, because the alternative is too terrifying. That was me. I nodded, kissed her goodbye at the airport, and told myself not to be one of those paranoid husbands who see shadows where there's only light. But shadows have a way of growing, and the truth doesn't stay buried forever. I didn't find out through snooping. Not at first. I found out because of a slip, a single file that synced by accident onto our shared cloud account, a handful of photos, her in sunglasses, him stretched out beside her, not in a boardroom, not on some conference floor, but on a private beach, sun blazing, drinks in hand, looking like the couple I thought we were. And my heart dropped so hard I swear I could hear it echo in my chest. I sat there staring at my laptop, the glow of the screen mocking me. Part of me hoped it was Photoshop, a joke, some twisted mistake. But no, her bracelet was visible, the one I'd bought her on our anniversary. Her smile was real, that carefree smile she hadn't worn around me in months. And him, God, the way he looked at her. Not like a coworker, not like a friend, like a man who thought she was his. And in that moment I realized she wasn't just away on business. She had been gone from me long before that trip. The first thing I did was nothing. Absolutely nothing. I closed the laptop. I poured myself a drink. I sat in the silence of our home, the home I'd worked so hard to build for us, and I let the images replay in my mind. Every sip burned, not because of the alcohol but because of the betrayal. And here's the strange thing, my mind didn't jump to anger first. It jumped to memory, to the way she laughed the first time we met, to the road trips where we sang off-key to the radio, to the promises whispered in the dark. How do you reconcile that woman with the one on the screen, tanning beside someone else, lying without flinching? People talk about heartbreak like it's a clean break. It's not. It's a slow tearing, like fabric stretched until it rips, threads snapping one by one. That night, I lay in bed beside her empty pillow, breathing in the faint trace of her perfume, and I felt each thread snap, and I knew this wasn't just about love anymore. This was about truth. The next morning I looked at her messages. I'd never done it before, not once in all our years together, but once trust is broken, privacy feels like a luxury you can't afford. The messages were vague, careful, but not careful enough. I can't wait to see you here. Our last night was amazing there. It wasn't the words themselves, it was the tone. You can feel intimacy even between the lines, and the way she deleted certain threads only confirmed it. You don't erase things that are innocent. But again, I didn't confront her, not yet, because confrontation without proof is noise, and I didn't want noise, I wanted clarity. So I started to pay attention, really pay attention. I noticed how she became oddly defensive when I asked about her day, how she showered immediately after coming home, clothes tucked quickly into the hamper, how she guarded her phone like it was made of gold. Every action, every detail fed into the story. Then came the excuses, late meetings, last-minute calls, travel that just couldn't be avoided. Each time I wanted to believe her. I wanted to be the man who trusted his wife, but the photos were burned into me now. Every excuse echoed against the image of her on that beach, smiling at him like I was already erased. I started documenting. Not because I'm vindictive, but because once you've been lied to, you need facts like you need air, receipts, screenshots, timestamps. I became an archivist of betrayal, building a record she thought she was too clever to leave behind. The hardest part wasn't the lies, it was playing along, smiling at her when she came home, asking about her work trip, pretending I didn't see the tan line she couldn't explain. I felt like an actor in a play I hadn't auditioned for, reciting lines in a story where the ending had already been written. But silence gave me something I didn't expect: power. For the first time in months, I wasn't stumbling in the dark. I was watching, observing, waiting. And the more I waited, the more I realized I didn't just want the truth. I wanted the right moment. Because when betrayal comes dressed as love, the exposure has to be undeniable. The opportunity came quicker than I thought. A dinner with friends. Casual, ordinary. The kind of night where everyone laughs too loud and drinks too much wine. She was radiant that night, leaning into me, playing the part of the devoted wife. And all I could see were those photos. The way she leaned into him. The way she let the sun kiss her skin while she told me she was in meetings. And that was when the plan formed. Not to scream, not to accuse, but to let the truth reveal itself so clearly that no one could deny it. Not her, not him, not me. I won't tell you the ending yet, because that's part 2, but I will tell you this. When the mask finally slipped, when the truth finally came crashing down, it wasn't the photos that cut the deepest. It was the realization that I had known all along, that the gut I ignored was never wrong, and that ignoring it cost me the one thing you can never get back: time. When I tell you that those photos haunted me, I'm not exaggerating. They weren't just snapshots. They were proof, fragments of a reality I wasn't meant to see. And the longer I stared at them, the more they seemed to breathe, to move, to taunt me. Her smile wasn't just a smile. It was a betrayal captured in pixels. His hand resting too casually near her wasn't just a gesture. It was possession. Every detail screamed a story, and the worst part was, I hadn't been invited to hear it. But instead of confronting her with anger, I let the silence grow. Silence became my shield, my weapon. You see, when someone lies to you, the moment you reveal that you know, they scramble, they hide the evidence, they twist the narrative, they gaslight you until you start questioning your own eyes. But if you stay quiet, they relax. They think you're still blind, and blind men are easy to fool. I became deliberate in my calmness. I asked her about her work trip, with the same casual tone I would use if I were asking about the weather. She smiled, brushed my questions aside with the ease of someone who believed her lie was airtight. Long days, lots of meetings. She'd sigh, dropping her bag by the door like it was weighed down by paperwork instead of suntan lotion and secrets. And I'd nod, kiss her cheek, and file the detail away. At night, while she slept, I combed through her digital footprint, not obsessively, but methodically. Bank transactions that didn't match her story, a receipt for a resort lunch, tucked among her expense reports. Even her fitness tracker betrayed her spikes of activity that matched when she claimed to be sitting in conference hall. Technology, it turns out, doesn't lie as easily as people do. And then there were more photos. Not sent to me, not meant for me, but synced automatically to that same cloud account she thought she'd disabled. Him carrying her on his shoulders in the surf, her lying on a towel reading, while his hand brushed against her ankle. The intimacy of it made my stomach twist. And yet, I saved them all. Proof. My arsenal. But here's the thing. Proof isn't enough. Proof in silence is like a loaded gun, locked in a safe. It has potential, but no impact. What mattered was timing, and I knew I needed the right moment. Not just to confront her, but to reveal her. Because if there's one thing betrayal fears, it's light. That moment came one Saturday evening. We were hosting dinner with friends, the kind of gathering we'd done 100 times. Wine glasses clinking, laughter bouncing off the walls. The illusion of domestic bliss, polished and on display. She was radiant that night, leaning into me, telling stories, her hand brushing mine like we were the perfect couple. And as I watched her, I realized that's exactly what she wanted. The performance. But I was done being part of her play. Halfway through dinner, while everyone was relaxed and the conversation flowed, I excused myself to the kitchen. My phone was already synced to the living room TV. All it took was one tap. When I walked back in, the room had gone quiet, because on the screen, larger than life, was her, my wife, in a bikini on that private beach, sunglasses tilted, smiling in a way she hadn't smiled at me in months. And beside her here, the silence that fell over the room was thick, suffocating. Forks froze midair, glasses hovered just short of lips. Every eye shifted from the screen to her, and her face. God, her face. It drained of color in an instant. She opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out, just a strangled sound, like a gasp trapped in her throat. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I simply said, "This was the work trip, right?" My voice was calm, almost conversational, but the weight of it crushed the room. She stammered, reaching for excuses, but the photos rolled on, one after another. Her with him under a palm tree, him with his arm around her waist, her holding his sunglasses, laughing, carefree, and then came the final one. The one that made the lie undeniable. A selfie. The two of them, foreheads touching, his lips brushing her temple, intimate, familiar, not colleagues, not friends, lovers. Someone at the table gasped. Another muttered something under their breath, and she broke. Tears, frantic explanations, desperate grabs at my arm. It's not what it looks like. I was going to tell you. It didn't mean anything. Each excuse weaker than the last, dissolving into the air like smoke. I stood, steady, and looked her in the eye. You said it was a work trip. You said I was paranoid. But the truth doesn't hide in conference rooms. It hides on beaches, and now everyone can see it. I walked out, not in a rush, not in anger, but with the calmness of a man who had already made his decision long before the photos ever hit the screen. By the time she came home that night, her keys no longer worked. Her clothes were packed neatly into boxes by the door. The bank accounts were secure, her access revoked. On the kitchen counter sat a folder, the legal papers, the evidence, the end. She begged, she cried. She tried to twist the narrative, but betrayal has no good ending. You can't rewrite the sun off your skin, or the sand from your hair. And those photos, those cursed photos, were more than images. They were truth, captured, and permanent. I didn't need to scream. I didn't need revenge. The exposure was enough, because in trying to build a secret paradise, she destroyed the home we had, and I made sure the world saw it for what it was. And me, I walked away light, not because it didn't hurt. It did, more than I can explain, but because I finally understood that trust isn't about words, it's about actions. And once actions betray you, words are worthless. So now when people ask me how it ended, I tell them this. It ended on a beach I never stepped foot on, in a photo I was never meant to see, and it ended with me choosing silence, patience, and the right moment. Because sometimes the greatest power isn't in fighting fire with fire, it's in letting the truth burn everything down on its own.